Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, we're talking today about continuing our conversation after the show. This is Dave and Dujanovic After Hours. So we had a fascinating debate today on the show. Had a ton of listeners calling in. We didn't have time to get to everybody's phone calls, and the debate was about this. It had to do with U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg and Elon Musk, of course, CEO of Tesla. And a debate they had at the Wall Street Journal CEO Council. Now, on the one hand, the debate is unofficial, but it was super intriguing. Let's talk about it, Dave.
Yeah, they got in a fight. I love fights. Fight between two ginormous nerds, which is great. I mean, listen, you're talking about the richest man in the world going head to head with the Biden administration. And this is something I just learned. The Biden administration hates Elon Musk and Tesla. Like, I don't know, maybe that's a harsh description of it, but you tell me what you think about it, because Deb, in August, the White House, they held a summit.
Mm-hmm.
The summit was on the future of electric vehicles. And do you know who they did not invite? Tesla. They didn't invite Tesla. Listen to what Elon Musk had to say about, how Tesla has done in the electric car business.
Tesla's made roughly 2/3 of all the electric cars in the United States. I'm not sure if most people are aware of that. Yeah, so Tesla's made basically twice as many electric vehicles as the rest of industry combined.
2/3.
Yeah.
2/3 of the electric vehicles on the roads right now, they're Teslas. But
Here's
the White House is like, nah, we don't need those guys.
Here's what we want our listeners to weigh in on now, our viewers here on Facebook. And that is this. Do you think government subsidies are the way to jumpstart electric vehicle sales? Should the federal government, subsidize our purchases with the tax credit? I'm going to tell you how much in just a moment. And then also subsidize electric vehicle charging stations. I'm on Team Pete Buttigieg, which is, yes, I believe that government needs to subsidize because we are in turtle mode right now when it comes to adding electric vehicles to our own family fleets. Dave, how many electric vehicles do you have in your fleet of cars?
0.
Me too.
Yeah,
I
0.
can't but when you look at the price of a Tesla, turtle mode. Yeah, I am. I'm in total turtle mode. I mean, I'm not talking about the number of cars that are being made that are EVs. I'm just talking about in my own neighborhood. I don't think any of my neighbors own an electric vehicle. I could be wrong, but we're all in turtle mode. I think a subsidy is the way to go in order to get more of us into these cars. We looked at the price of Tesla on the show. Tesla, what is it? A T3? I don't know what they're exactly. $47,000. $47,000.
Well, you can kind of pay whatever you want for a car, right? What they claim is $35,000 to $40,000 if you add bells and whistles, right? That's for a new car.
Okay,
we can buy one that's used for a little cheaper, whatever it might be. But the question really in the core of this is, should the government be offering subsidies to buy an electric vehicle? Because we saw this in the solar world, right? Solar panels, installing a solar system on your house. There were all sorts of subsidies from the government. And a lot of people took advantage of them. Is that the right thing to do? This is why I think it's a terrible idea, and why the government should not be involved at all with what I want to purchase. You shouldn't have to pay, Debbie Dujanovic, for things that I want. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. And when
tell me more about that. What do you mean by that? Give me an example.
Well, okay, any subsidy has to be paid, right? Because if you give a subsidy to Tesla, you're like, hey, we're going to give you $10,000, a $10,000 credit. Well, Tesla still gets that $10,000. Who pays for that $10,000? The taxpayer. Mm-hmm. So I want a Tesla. You should not have to pay for it. Like, that makes absolutely no sense.
Well, I feel like it does. And I'll tell you why. I would not go EV right now. And you kind of dissed on me in the show. about this. Maybe it was in the break in between breaks, and you said, "Well, you're just not a new car buyer. You're out of that mode. You're a used car buyer," and that's true.
Yeah.
I am very much about getting a car that's used. Haven't always been that way, but have been for the last 20 years, as cheaply as I can, knowing I'm going to have to fix it up along the way. But they can tend to be these older gas guzzler cars. The car I'm driving right now, it's a great car. It's 7 years old. It gets 24 miles, 25 miles to the gallon. I want to go EV, but Dave, I'm a penny pincher. And I am not going to look at a $7,000 MSRP on a car and say, you know what, I'm just going to buy that. If you came to me and said, and here's what the proposals are, they're talking about different proposals, and this would be under the Build Back Better plan that President Biden is pitching. It would be, I've read anywhere between $7,500 and $12,500 for a subsidy. Now, I don't know if there's a sliding scale based on how much you buy. You can buy, like a Prius is 25 grand with electric, an EV. So it's a lot cheaper. But that is what's going to make me think hard about getting out of turtle mode, getting into overdrive, and bringing an EV into the family fleet. It just will. And don't I want to really do with the right thing anyway? Because I do believe that we need to do something about all of the miles we're putting, all the gas we're using, and the environment and the climate. I mean, there's no question in my mind something needs to be done. I want to go electric, but it's that sticker price. Anytime you have a coupon at the store, when you have a coupon at the store, think of it this way. You buy something you would have never bought before, right? Right? You're going to sample something. That's why they put coupons out. They know they work.
No, well, first of all, coupons work because it's the manufacturer that's giving you the discount. Okay. If I want to buy some potato chips and I use a coupon, then Frito-Lays are the one that are taking the loss, right?
Yeah. Okay.
It's worth it. There's a huge difference when it's a government subsidy. It's not Tesla taking the loss. It's me taking the loss. It's the taxpayer. They're the ones that are paying for it. So just fundamentally, we have to say, if it makes sense, if you want to buy something, then do it. Great. And this is the problem with rebates. This is another problem with rebates. When you offer a rebate, it actually disincentivizes people to buy things that they normally would buy, because you're waiting for that discount. You're like, ooh, well, I'm going to wait till the rebates get good. And you will actually not purchase that. And another thing it does is if, for example, when Tesla first came out, do you know how much a car cost? $100,000.
So they've gone down significantly in price.
Astronomically, because guess who bought $100,000 car? Nobody. Wow. Like very, very, very few people. So Tesla had to figure out how to make this vehicle accessible to normal people. So it wasn't the Model 2, it was the Model 3 that finally became cost effective. And now all of a sudden you cost $35,000, $40,000, $45,000 for a new car that doesn't have oil changes, that doesn't require gasoline. All of a sudden it becomes affordable. And that wasn't done because of your incentive program. It was done because Elon Musk is like, you know what? I got to figure out a way to make it cheaper. And he did.
Leave your comments below on our Facebook discussion group right there below. Let us know how you feel. You're on Team Deb, which I am for government subsidies. I think it would jumpstart EV sales and also make it so we're looking at other cars besides Teslas to buy. Or are you on Team Dave? He's anti-government subsidies for electric vehicles. We had this discussion today on the David Janovic show in our 10 o'clock hour, and we were quite frankly inundated with phone calls to the point the calls were still coming in after our discussion ended and we moved on to another topic. So I say vote Team Deb. I was the winner on the show. Most people were in my court, Dave. The government subsidies were the way to go. Why do you think they were so anti-Dave?
Because people like free stuff. Hey, there's a big shocker. People like free stuff, right? I mean, it's what makes it so wrong to offer these subsidies. Anytime the government steps in and says we're going to fund something, and essentially that's what they're doing. They're creating winners and losers, right? The government, that is not their job. It is not their job to decide, hey, you know what? Electric vehicles should be the winners. Gas-powered cars should be the losers. Okay.
But they did this with housing when we were in the dumps with housing, remember? And didn't they? I'm trying to remember if they did this with gas cars as well. When the economy tanked back, 11, 12 years ago. But they did this. I do know they did this with first-time home buyers. They gave them an $8,000, incentive to purchase a home. And that's when there were all these short sales available and bankruptcies and foreclosures that were available. And that is what really started, to some degree, get a lot of first-time home buyers into homes when we were having such a calamity in the housing market. So do you disagree with that subsidy as well?
Yep.
All of them. You don't think that should have been offered?
All subsidies.
All subsidies.
Right. And you're going to say, well, you take a subsidy for your kids, right? I get a child tax credit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we can get rid of that as well. Listen, we can get rid of all of this.
No.
Because
that's
again,
extreme, Dave. You're talking extreme now.
What's extreme about it?
Getting rid of tax credits for children?
The idea that my choice to have a child is being treated differently than your choice to not have a child, or the fact that your kids have grown up and moved out and now you no longer receive a tax credit. It just doesn't make sense. We shouldn't be rewarded by the government for personal choices that we make. Like if you want to get married, if you want to have kids, if you want to have solar panels, because it's an endless line. Like every decision we make should not be incentivized or de-incentivized by the government. It is inappropriate for them to step in and say, I'm going to pick a winner for this side and a loser for that side. Because as soon as you start pushing EV, now all of a sudden you're forcing the gas cars to compete or to lower their prices or just lose or go out of business. That is not the job. The job of the government, and this is straight up stolen from Elon Musk, says the job of the government is to play referee. That is a really good explanation, like a concise way to say, here's some rules of the game. And as soon as you cross that line and you break that rule, now we're going to step in. You do something illegal, we're going to step in. You do something dangerous, we're going to step in. That's a great role for government. For government to say, hey, Dave wants solar panels, I'm going to hook him up with a good deal.
So the state government and federal government has talked about subsidizing charging stations along the way. Now, the Tesla, for example, we just use Tesla, it gets 267 miles. Is that right? Is it get 267? That's the range it will go before it runs out of juice, before it runs out of electricity. Is that
ranges kind of depending on what model you buy, but it's largely around 300 to 400,000.
3 to 400. Okay, so I couldn't make it to, like, for example, Las Vegas. I could not make it. So I would probably have to gas up. I'm trying to think if my gas car needs to gas up, but there's tons of gas stations along the way, right? I mean, so I do get concerned that what's the incentive if there's not enough electric vehicles on the road for just a everyday gas station, Exxon, whatever it is, Maverick, Sinclair, to set up shop, in Millard County, so I can make sure I can stop and charge my car there. So I do believe that the government is going to have to jumpstart these charging stations, just because I don't know that private businesses are they. I don't know where they are. I mean, I do think there have to be some incentive for gas stations that are currently existing, the government to step up and give them an incentive to put a charging station in. You don't agree? Because why would it be incentive for me to run out of juice in the Scipio?
Yeah, this is the very definition.
Are we trying to clean up the climate with this and clean up the environment and just, is that not the goal? So why not incentivize this so I can not You're saying I'm just out of luck. I should just drive my EV around Salt Lake City, charge it at my house, and then that's it.
No, the free market will take care of this.
You think so?
They absolutely will. For example, say you have a gas station. A gas station offers diesel. It offers, 85 octane, 87, 89. They offer because they know that some people want 91 octane gasoline, and they'll pay 40 cents more a gallon to put that in. They give options because they realize the more options I offer, the better chance I have for people to come to my place. These gas stations will start offering, if the demand is high enough, they will start offering charging stations. And they'll do it because it makes smart business sense. They want more people to come. For example, this is what I think. It takes much longer to charge up an electric vehicle than it does fill up a gas, right? You can fill up gas in 5 minutes and you're done. Well, maybe it takes 30 minutes or 45 minutes for you to charge your vehicle, to get an extra 100 miles on that or a couple hundred miles. Now all of a sudden you have to schedule a time. You're like, oh, well, if I've got to fill up my EV, I've got to be able to sit down and have lunch. Oh, well, now all of a sudden you can offer a restaurant. Hey, sit down while you charge your vehicle. Maybe the gas stations are now restaurants. Charge up your vehicle, come in, order some food. It's a different business model. The creativity will come out. I have no worry about the American creativity.
I want to get to some comments, and we got to cut out of here because we actually have a station meeting that we have to be at 2 minutes ago. So let's get to some comments. Let's start with Brian. I'm having a hard time reading it on my screen in front of me, so I'm going to read it. You're going to read. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. Green technology, unlike fossil fuels, are a benefit for every person and living thing on the planet. If subsidizing will help get more green cars on the road, do it until the cows come home and tax Musk to pay for it. Why would you have to tax Musk to pay for it? No, I think the argument is this does global good. Sure. Yeah. Guess what else does global good? Broccoli. Broccoli does global good. You eat more broccoli, you'll be less fat, you'll be more healthy. Should the government subsidize broccoli?
Well, they probably do. They subsidize milk our children drink at school. They do give farmers subsidies. So I'm not sure that that's a great comparison.
It's a fantastic comparison because there is a global good for healthy eating. So should the government give me a tax credit every time I eat healthy? Like, no, of course they should not, because it's my decision. If I want to eat Big Macs, then that's my own stupid decision, right?
Yeah.
Delicious as they might be.
Mark Wagner says the normal working individual can't afford these new cars. And Mark, I'm completely on board with you on that. And they are expensive. Maybe they did come down from $100,000, but $100,000 is out of reach. I mean, the average median wage annual salary in Utah right now is probably $60,000, $58,000 a year. If you think you can afford a $700 a month payment on a car, you're wrong. You did your math wrong. So I agree with you. And that's where the subsidy would come in for me. If the subsidy was significant enough, and I'm not saying you have to pay for the whole car. You don't have to pay for half of the car. If you give me a $7,000 or $8,000 subsidy, I'll probably have to get on a waiting list for a Tesla, but I would consider getting one. If you don't offer me a subsidy, I'll tell you right now, this is not a conversation I'm having at the dinner table with my kids. And my kids are in their 20s. They are very, very concerned about, they are that culture and that age group that is extremely concerned about, Mom, you'll be long gone, in 50 years from now, when we're faced with what's, global warming and the real challenges that this could possibly bring. They can't afford to even consider buying an electric vehicle right now.
Sure they can.
No, they can't.
I totally disagree. Because
you'll say that about your own kids, but don't say that about my kids.
Well, listen,
you haven't had that conversation with them.
If they're going to drive a car, and again, whenever we're talking about our kids, we're not talking about our kids specifically. We're talking about kids in general. You can buy a used, older EV that is not the $40,000.
But you're not going to get subsidy for that.
No, you're not. But guess what? You can get it for a reasonable cost. Now you got to give up, you give up something here and you get something back there. There's no perfect vehicles out there, but don't think for a second there's not electric vehicles out there under $10,000. There absolutely are. Will it fit your needs? Maybe, maybe not. But again, how much do you value the idea of getting a new car or saving the planet by driving a new car, a new electric vehicle? The problem is, again, we're so anxious to fix this problem now. This problem is being fixed in front of our eyes. EV was not even a thing 10 years ago. Now it is kind of the preferred new vehicle. Like, that's what most people want. They like the idea of it. Give it another 10 years, we'll all be driving EV, I have no doubt.
Hey, friends, thank you so much for jumping on and listening to us shout it out here. We're on every day, Monday through Thursday, 9 to noon. It's the David Dujanovic Show. We look forward to your texts on the show, your calls on the show. We got a jam because we got a race right now to a meeting we're late for. So thanks. Have a great weekend.
You guys.